During the portion of the debate that focused on immigration, Biden decided to go after Donald Trump, obviously justifiably, over his decision to implement a blanket strategy of taking children away from their parents as they came to the border seeking asylum. Take a look.
Our children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through America.
But how will you reunite these kids with their families,
Let me just tell you,
Mr. President?
they built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you have a plan to reunite the kids?
Yes, we're working on it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this conversation. Quick response.
And you'll separate them from their parents once they get to the border with their parents.
Came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
They did it. We changed the policy.
Your response to that?
They did it. We changed.
Did not.
They built the cages.
He's such a liar.
Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what we're talking about. Who built the cages, Let's talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped. Their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go.
Yep.
Nowhere to go.
545 of them.
It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you about
I will say this. They went down. We brought reporters, everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of them haven't been reunited.
But just ask one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask them that. Who built the cages?
Let me.
So when Trump keeps saying who built the cages, I think Biden did okay. In that moment, he should have hit back with, listen, the Obama administration did not implement a policy, a literal blanket policy of separating every single child from their parents, from their families, as they reach the border seeking asylum. That is what Trump did. It was a zero tolerance blanket policy. Didn't matter what people were seeking asylum for, didn't matter what they came to the United States for. Every single child in 2017 was taken away from their parents as they reached the border. And it was specifically done as a deterrent to teach these migrants a lesson. How dare you come to our border seeking safety with your children? How dare you try to protect your children from the violence in your home countries? You know, it's so unbelievably frustrating to hear Trump, regurgitate that line. And look, I'll be fair, but Obama wasn't great when it came to his own immigration policies. That's part of the reason why he was called the deporter in chief at some point. But I will say that Trump intentionally, with the help of Jeff Sessions, who was his attorney general at the time, before he was disappointed in his attorney general for not being enough of a lackey for him, decided to do the most cruel, disgusting action of taking these children away from their parents. And as many as half a dozen kids died in Border Patrol custody under Trump's administration. How many children died under Obama's administration? Oh, that's right, zero, because he didn't have that blanket policy. He didn't. So I would have liked to see a stronger answer from Biden on that, but there's no question that Donald Trump's immigration policies have been the cruelest and have led to dozens of migrants dying, including as many as 6 immigrant children. It's disgusting.
He also said, by the way, about the immigrants who come back to court as they're supposed to for the asylum seekers. He said they're the ones with the lowest IQ. And to me, that's really telling about the way Donald Trump thinks of the law. only the people with the lowest IQ would follow the law. Of course, everyone else would break the law. Well, that's what a lifelong criminal thinks, and that's who Donald Trump is.
And someone who has the IQ that says a date called November 3rd. What do you think? What do you guys think in terms of when Trump goes after Biden? There's a part of me that's for what the Obama administration did. There's a part of me that wants him to say, "I was the vice president. You are the president." I know that you probably shouldn't do that, right? What does Mike Pence have to do with any of what you're doing, Mr. President? But it seems like there's a way to fight back against blaming everything from Obama-Biden on Biden. Joe Biden had no control really over what went on. He was an advisor to the president, closer than many vice presidents have been, but he was just an advisor. I don't know what he should have done, but it's frustrated me all the time, and it doesn't matter because there's not going to be another.
He inadvertently did that.
Yeah, you're right, man. That's true.
On the part where they were talking about why didn't he get comprehensive immigration reform done, he was like, "Well, I wasn't the president," or something to that effect. But I agree with you, Mike. I think he could have really pivoted that way and held Donald Trump accountable for the fact that he hasn't done these things over the last 4 years. In fact, he's exacerbated every single problem that we had, and highlight the fact that no, I wasn't the president, but we got X, Y, and Z done underneath President Obama. What have you gotten done? I really think he could have played that ball a little bit harder, but he did inadvertently kind of get a dig in there at President Obama, and I'm glad he got off of it because that wouldn't have played well at all.
Yeah, I think that he's in a tough spot there. I agree with Ben, and so the way that I would have gone is, you guys are gonna be shocked. I hope you're sitting. I would have gone on the offense, and so this is partly what Michael's alluding to, right? Say, hey, listen, you're the president for the last 4 years. Where the hell's your healthcare plan? You keep talking about, oh, we had 8 years. You had 4 years. You weren't the vice president. You were the president, right? So where's your healthcare plan? I know that you gave Leslie Stahl a book filled with 1,000 blank pages, okay? But what were you doing for 4 years? So what's the only thing you got done? $2 trillion tax cut for the rich, right? So you say you built a wall. There's 5 miles of wall. What did you do? You got nothing done. You got nothing done except tax cuts for your donors. Now, I know Biden's not that guy. Almost no Democrat is that guy. Maybe AOC, maybe Katie Porter, maybe Jamal Bowman, but Cori Bush and stuff. But they're not here, right? But yeah, go on the offense. And look, furthermore, I would have said to Trump, look, and Biden went a little in this direction. It worked great. Are you ever going to take responsibility for anything? Because then it leads him to say absurd things like, I take full responsibility. It was China's fault, right? I mean, he literally said that. Those two sentences back to back, right? And then I would go down the list for all the things. 220,000 people are going to be dead. Are you taking any responsibility? We lead the world in cases and deaths. Are you going to take any responsibility? And but not just on coronavirus, on every issue, right? You say, hey, you know what? On the one hand, you say that I was too tough with the crime bill. On the other hand, you say that I'm going to burn up the suburbs, right? Well, that doesn't make any sense. B, for all the violence that's happened recently, are you going to take any responsibility? Because I wasn't the president, you were the president, right? And you know what Trump does when challenged on that, and it's in the comments here too. It's in everything that everybody says. I can't find it right now, but some of our members writing in, all the guy ever does is cry. So look, it would have been a killer line. I wish he'd said it. But if Joe Biden had at one point turned around and said, are you still crying? It would have been game, set, and match.
So that's a moment. That would have been a moment.
I think another exhale here is that the Hunter Biden thing went nowhere, right? I mean, everybody came in on pins and needles over this thing, and the Wall Street Journal has now said that their reporting was unable to confirm at all that Joe Biden had inserted himself into this at all. It went nowhere, and that was going to be the big splash, right? Inviting Tony Bobulinski there, doing all of that, nothing, and we come away with nothing from that.
Yeah. Let me just comment on that for a second. I find all of the Hunter Biden stuff. Look, the criticism about him working on the board of Burisma, that's the only credible criticism that I see, and it's the argument about nepotism. But you can't get that argument from Donald Trump, who like litters his entire White House with nepotism. Like he's all about nepotism. Yeah. But in terms of attacking him for all the other like alleged scandals that have like no actual substance to them, attacking him for his substance abuse issues, his addiction issues, it's all incredibly disgusting. It makes me uncomfortable. Every time I hear these claims from Trump lackeys, all I can personally think about as someone who, has my own criticisms toward Biden for sure, is Biden and what he went through with the loss of like family members, having to go through that kind of disgusting attack toward his son. It's just, I don't think it plays well with most Americans. The hardcore Trump supporters maybe, but they're not representative of the majority of the country. I think most people are disgusted by that. I think most people who have either known of or have someone in their family who have suffered from addiction issues don't like it, doesn't play well with them. It's just a really cheap shot toward Biden. It doesn't have anything to do with actual substance or policy. So I'm glad it's not sticking. I was really worried that it would, but it makes me happy to know that people are not really buying these attacks against Hunter Biden, especially when it comes to his, past issues with addiction.
Yeah, and Trump says so many absurd things that I think people have tuned out. You took $3.5 million from Russia. What? Nobody believes that. What? That's the first time I don't know. That's the first time I've ever heard of Biden taking $3.5 million from Russia. It's just everything is so made up and so outlandish. Oh, you're making money from sheets and pillows. Like, what is that? What are you talking about? And then so when he gets to, hey,
for the My Pillow guy.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, wait, you're the pillows guy. Like literally, the My Pillows guy is your best friend, right? So when he gets to, hey, Hunter Biden and you are corrupt in Ukraine and China, it's in a cloud of so much nonsense that I think people totally ignore it because he's like, oh yeah, remember that corruption you did with cotton candy? And people are like, what? Right? So they're just tuning out of the nonsense. I don't think it's landing at all. All right, listen, we've got more clips for you guys, but first, I'm gonna do. There was a great moment that actually connected to one of our sponsors. Honestly, he did it again in this debate. So Trump says we're planting a trillion trees. He hasn't planted a single tree. It's a made-up program. It's a total lie. Once he called it a billion trees. A couple of times he called it a trillion trees. That's the thing about Trump. He's so detached from reality. He really thinks that when he says he's been better to African Americans than anyone, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln, people are gonna like that. They're gonna be like, oh, that's so true. Lincoln, was he okay with blacks? I don't know, but Trump, it's 50-50. But everybody else, Martin Luther King, it doesn't matter. Or even if you're just sticking with presidents, LBJ passed the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, but no, he definitely wasn't as good as Trump is with African Americans. I mean, it's so outlandish, so stupid. So now the reality is, what's cool about this coverage is that it's brought to us by you guys, as I keep telling you, hit the join button below on YouTube, tyt.com/join if you're watching anywhere else, but also by our sponsors. And aspiration.com/tyt actually plants trees. They've actually planted 2 million trees already and growing. So when you sign up for that account, they plant 10 trees for you. And every time you round up, if you go join their program, they plant another tree. So Trump's not doing it, but our sponsors are. And look, yeah, sure, definitely go to aspiration.com/tyt. You keep your money there, and it doesn't go to fossil fuels. All that stuff, that's great, right? But the larger point is, progressives actually want to do something about it. I feel like moderate Democrats, we got to nudge them and push to the point we had earlier in the conversation, pull them, push them, get them there. Okay, not fracking, but oil, not now, but 2050, but we're getting there, right? But Trump's on a different planet where he's planted 1 trillion trees. Right? I mean, I don't know, like Michael, doesn't anyone say to the guy like, you gotta stop saying we're planting 1 trillion trees. It's embarrassing. Like, we haven't planted one. We didn't even plant one in the Rose Garden. We haven't done anything, okay?
They like cut down trees in the Rose Garden, didn't they?
Right, that's true. Actually, I think that but he surrounds himself with people who say to him, "Tell them about the trillion trees." And so I think that's the problem.
That's right. Rudy's like, I just came out from a great interview with this Russian reporter, and I got to tell you, main thing is trees. A trillion.
The reporter was guessing. Yeah.
I wish I was in the debate prep strategy session where they're like, should we say 1 million trees? And somebody's like, no way, 1 billion. And Trump's like, I got it. You guys are dummies, low IQ.
Right.
We go with 1 trillion trees. As long as we're lying, why not make it up? In one of these, I wish there was another debate because I think there's some chance he would say at some point that they've planted 1 Brazilian trees. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.